What's up, guys? This is Chris from DraftDashboard.com. Here are my DFS picks for MLB Wednesday, June 29th. These picks apply for DraftKings and FanDuel. Before I get started, please drop a like on this video and hit that red subscribe button and hit that bell icon so you don't miss our new videos. In this video, I'm going to go over my top picks for today's MLB slate. And if you stick around to the very end of this video, we'll use the Draft Dashboard tools to make a DFS lineup using the picks we just made. Okay guys, we have a 7-game slate tonight, so let's take a look at the pitcher position. I like Sandy Alcantara pitching against the St. Louis Cardinals. Sandy Alcantara giving up a .553 OPS versus righties. So he pitches his best ball versus righty batters, facing 4 righties here tonight. And the Cardinals have only hit 8 of his last 38 pitches. That's a .211 batting average. Sandy Alcantara is $11,000 FanDuel salary. He's $1,000 less on DraftKings, averaging 41 fantasy points per game on the season. He has an ERA of 1.95. His record is 7-3, and he's pitching an average of 101 pitches per game, going 7 to 8 innings the last 3 games. Vegas thinks this is going to be a low-scoring game. 7.5 runs scored in this game. That's their over-under. So I like Sandy Alcantara here versus the St. Louis Cardinals. Now I also like Alek Manoah. He's got a pretty big pitching advantage here over the Boston Red Sox. Alek Manoah pitching his best ball versus righty batters, only giving up a .469 OPS versus righties. He's facing 6 righties here tonight, and on top of that, the Red Sox have only hit 5 of his last 38 pitches. That's a .132 batting average. Alek Manoah is $10,800 FanDuel salary, $2,100 less on DraftKings. So I love that DraftKings price, averaging 39 fantasy points per game on the season. He has an ERA of 2.05. Record is 9-2, pitching an average of 92 pitches per game. So I like Alek Manoah here versus the Boston Red Sox. Okay, let's take a look at the catcher first base position. I like Josh Naylor with a 40% batting advantage over a low salary pitcher, Dylan Bundy. Josh Naylor batting 37% better versus righty pitchers, batting a .859 OPS versus righties. Dylan Bundy pitching his worst ball versus lefty batters, giving up a .834 OPS versus lefties. There's no at-bats versus Bundy yet, but I like this pick because Josh Naylor, only $2,900 FanDuel salary and only $600 more on DraftKings, averaging 10 fantasy points per game on the season. He has a batting average of .271, so I like Josh Naylor here versus Dylan Bundy. Now another value play here, I like Garrett Cooper with a 46% batting advantage over a low salary pitcher, Andre Palante. Garrett Cooper batting a .837 OPS versus righties. Andre Palante pitching 45% worse to righties as he does lefties, giving up a .775 OPS versus righties. Now there's no at-bats versus Palante yet. Garrett Cooper, only $2,800 FanDuel salary, same price on DraftKings, averaging 9 fantasy points per game on the season. He scored fantasy points in all 5 of his last games, and he has a batting average of .315. So I like Garrett Cooper here versus Andre Palante. Before I continue with the picks, I'm excited today because we added a new contest for everyone watching. If you want to enter the drawing for $25 PayPal, all you need to do is like this video, hit that subscribe button, and make a quick comment below to be entered into the drawing. We'll reply to a random comment and let you know that you won. And then we'll send you $25 PayPal. So it's that easy. And we pick a new winner every Saturday and announce them in our video. So get your comment in now so I can add another entry for you. Okay, let's take a look at the second base position. I like Donovan Solano. And this is another value play. He has a 56% batting advantage over a low salary pitcher, Justin Steele. Donovan Solano, he's batting 30% better versus lefty pitchers, batting a 1.126 OPS versus lefties. Justin Steele, pitching 26% worse to righties as he does lefties, giving up a .751 OPS versus righties. There's no at-bats versus Steele yet, but Donovan Solano, only $2,300 FanDuel salary, $1,200 more on DraftKings, so I love that FanDuel price. Averaging 13 fantasy points per game on the season, he scored fantasy points in all 5 of his last games. He has a batting average of .381, so it looks like he's priced way too low for this slate, so I like Donovan Solano here versus Justin Steele. Another value play, guys, I like Orlando Arcia, and he's got a 49% batting advantage over Ranger Suarez. Orlando Arcia batting 7% better versus lefty pitchers, batting a .678 OPS versus lefties. Ranger Suarez pitching his worst ball versus righty batters, 43% worse than his other pitches, giving up a .742 OPS versus righties. Now, Orlando Arcia is 1-for-1 versus Suarez. That one hit was a double. He's only $2,600 FanDuel salary, $800 more on DraftKings, averaging 8 fantasy points per game on the season. He has a batting average of .287. So I like Orlando Arcia here versus Ranger Suarez. Okay, let's take a look at the third base position. I like Luis Arraez with a 36% batting advantage over Cal Quantrill. Luis Arraez batting 27% better versus righty pitchers, batting a .837 OPS versus righties. Cal Quantrill, he is pitching his worst ball versus lefty batters, 9% worse than his other pitches, giving up a .760 OPS versus lefties. Luis Arraez is 4-for-13. It's a .308 batting average and a .972 OPS versus Quantrill. He's $3,000 FanDuel salary, $1,600 more on DraftKings, averaging 10 fantasy points per game on the season. He's scored fantasy points in all 5 of his last games. He has a batting average of .344, so I like Luis Arraez here versus Cal Quantrill. Now, I also like Brandon Drury with a 48% batting advantage over that low salary pitcher, Justin Steele. Brandon Drury batting 22% better versus lefty pitchers, batting a .965 OPS versus lefties. Justin Steele, we know he's given up a .751 OPS versus righties. Brandon Drury is 1-for-2 here versus Steele. He's $3,400 FanDuel salary, $1,600 more on DraftKings, averaging 12 fantasy points per game on the season, but he's been on fire, scoring 19, 19, 19, 16, and 6 fantasy points in his last 5 games. He has a batting average of .276, so I like Brandon Drury here versus Justin Steele. Real quick, guys, I got great news. For a limited time, we're offering a full 30-day trial to DraftDashboard. You can try all of our DFS tools for all sports. You can try the Position Optimizer, where you can see the top players ranked for each position. And we added a new Player Trends tool, where you can see the top salary differences between FanDuel and DraftKings. It's a really good tool to help you pick out value for the site that you're playing on. Oh, and if you're tired of doing research every day, we just added a cheat sheet that shows hand-picked plays for the slate. No confusing stat lines, no headaches, just a simple cheat sheet that shows the absolute best players for your lineups. Okay, let's take a look at the shortstop position. I like Nico Hoerner, another fantastic value play here. Nico Hoerner is batting 13% better versus righty pitchers. He's batting a .794 OPS versus righties. Hunter Green, pitching his worst ball versus righty batters, 23% worse than his other pitches, giving up a .935 OPS versus righties. Nico Hoerner is 1 for 2 here versus Green. That one hit is for a home run. Only $2,500 FanDuel salary, $900 more on DraftKings, averaging 8 fantasy points per game on the season. He scored fantasy points in all 5 of his last games. He has a batting average of .304, so I like Nico Hoerner here versus Hunter Green. Okay, now it's looking like there's a good stack opportunity here versus Justin Steele, because I also like Kyle Farmer with a 62% batting advantage over the low salary pitcher Justin Steele. Kyle Farmer batting 36% better versus lefty pitchers, batting a 1.010 OPS versus lefties. We know Justin Steele is giving up a .751 OPS versus righties. Kyle Farmer is 2 for 7 versus Steele. That's a .286 batting average, but one of those 2 hits was for a home run. He's $3,000 FanDuel salary, $800 more on DraftKings. He's averaging 9 fantasy points per game on the season, scored fantasy points in all 5 of his last games. He has a batting average of .280, so I like Kyle Farmer here versus Justin Steele. Okay, moving on to the outfield position. Kind of a weak outfield position here tonight. I got a couple of players that I like. Josh Naylor, we already went over him. He's also eligible at the outfield position. And take a look at George Springer. He is batting against Nick Pivetta. George Springer batting a .834 OPS versus righties. Nick Pivetta giving up a .680 OPS versus righties. But I like this pick because George Springer is 6 for 12. It's a .500 batting average and a 1.229 OPS versus Pivetta. He's $3,500 FanDuel salary, $1,100 more on DraftKings, averaging 11 fantasy points per game on the season. He scored fantasy points in 4 out of his last 5 games. He has a batting average of .259, so I like George Springer here versus Nick Pivetta. I also like Christopher Morel. He's got a 49% batting advantage over Hunter Green. Christopher Morel batting 26% better versus righty pitchers, batting a .798 OPS versus righties. Hunter Green pitching his worst ball versus righty batters, 23% worse than his other pitches, giving up a .935 OPS versus righties. Christopher Morel is 2 for 3 with a 1.667 OPS versus Green. He's $2,900 FanDuel salary, $700 more on DraftKings, averaging 11 fantasy points per game on the season. He scored fantasy points in all 5 of his last games. He has a batting average of .255, so I like Christopher Morel here versus Hunter Green. Now, another value play that I like on this slate is Jonathan Daza. He's got a 15% batting advantage over Julio Urias. Jonathan Daza batting 18% better versus lefty pitchers, batting a .807 OPS versus lefties. Julio Urias giving up a .632 OPS versus righties. And Jonathan Daza is 3 for 6 with a 1 OPS versus Urias. $2,700 FanDuel salary, same price on DraftKings, averaging 7 fantasy points per game on the season, but he has a batting average of .311, and Vegas thinks this is going to be a high-scoring game. 11 runs scored in this game, so I like Jonathan Daza here versus Julio Urias. If you want to try all these daily fantasy tools for yourself, click the link in the description below this video or just go to DraftDashboard.com. You can use our DFS lineup optimizer to build quality lineups using our picks and your own custom player pool. Click the link in the description below this video and try all these daily fantasy tools right now. Thanks so much for watching. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel and hit that bell icon so you can get instant updates whenever we post a new video. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed this video, please smiggity smash that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Oh, and please comment below with your favorite player for this NBA slate. I love to hear what you guys have to think. Thanks again, and good luck.